But Gary was one of the original founders of the Open Co-op, and what he's come to talk to you today is about a shared social vision. So I'll pass you over to Gary and hear what he's got to say.
I'm really excited to be here. Amazing. It's as though our original vision is really, it's time for it to come true now. And actually, 4 of the 5 founders are at the conference now. And I've discovered all kinds of really old friends and met a lot of new friends here at this conference, which is so amazing. Like me, I know the people that I know are interested in building a collaborative, sustainable society. And we think that platform co-ops are a key infrastructure for that. That's why I'm here. That's why they're here. I'm just curious. Can we have a little vote? How many people share that idea? There's something like a collaborative, sustainable society on platform co-ops? Yes, no, maybe, yes? Absolutely most people. Okay. I'm going to try to get the overall social vision in 10 minutes, and I'm going to have 3 more of these votes so we can get a sense of where are we as a community here on this overall social vision. Right, so start with our unifying values. I mean, Ali's already been talking about this, the phrase for people and planet, and we're a broad movement, not just this conference, people concerned with the environment, with social justice, economic democracy, human rights, equality, very much more, localization. And this phrase for me encapsulates all of those. What brings us together, this broad movement? So you get phrases like working together. I mean, it's essentially, it's cooperative rather than competitive. That's one of the key. It's a different kind of relationship. We're working together for this globally. We talk about the well-being of people and planet, and that is a sort of driving force rather than profit and power. So, and perhaps this encapsulates the whole thing. Again, so going back to the original image, first vote. Is this where you are? Yes, that's sort of my values. New age wanky bollocks? Somewhere in between? So where are we with that? Some in-betweens? Mostly that. Okay, so now, what does this mean? For example, what does it mean to have a cooperative planet or a large-scale cooperation from local to global? And I think to explain that most easily, I'll tell you a little story. We'll do a fiction, which I hope might come true, but it's definitely a fantasy, a fictional fantasy. But it'll illustrate the social vision, and there'll be 2 more polls to see where you are on this. Let's say that the Open Co-op now recruits 100 communities around the world. For a 5-year pilot, pioneering this working together, 100 communities around the world working together as a high-profile pilot for a collaborative, sustainable community, okay? That would be pretty high visibility. And we also recruit businesses, that's working, yeah, right, that share these values because they can see that this pilot is creating a market, a cooperative market, in which their values really give them a huge selective advantage. And that's what we want. Consumers, producers, who share the values. Okay, and local businesses in each of these 100 communities as well. Okay, so now what might any one of these local communities be like? Of course, they'll be hugely diverse. There'll be networks of independent businesses, say like Emilia-Romagna in Italy. And they'll be building up to something like this over a period of 5 years, starting with probably people we might call the connectors. I mean, this is what Ali keeps saying. This is the sense. We're at a time in which our movement is coming together. We can't stay in our silos. We realize this is the time to come together. So the connectors start. They're also going to need their local techies who are going to be doing the holo work, That's where your data is. They're going to be, your data will be with those local people. They'll be, not only will they be setting up your local social networks, but they'll be giving lots of badly needed personal technical support to people. But that's the infrastructure, whereas, as Ollie was saying, this isn't supposed to be an online community. The Fun Squad is doing events of all sorts. People are meeting, doing their business together, seeing each other. That's the real social thing. And then we'll be having, well, care. This is all building up over the 5 years. Care, child care, elder care, whatever it is. Peacemakers, actually learning to work together, is absolutely a crucial thing, handling conflicts. Then all sorts of practical things: food, energy, transport, fixing, repairs, recycling, and that's some flashes. Oh, and whatever the community wants. So this will be whatever it is in each of these 100 communities. Now these are all separate, autonomous, probably all local businesses or consortia or cooperatives working together. And it's this separateness but working together for mutual support and for synergy that's the pattern we're looking at. Local autonomy with support. Actively worked on support. And not only working together within this community, but working together with others in clusters. I forgot to say that the maps are actually stolen, but with permission from the transition network. Now, I think, how would this work? How would I set this up in Norfolk, where I live? And I had been trying for a long time there. The time wasn't right so far. So that's the DIS Community Partnership would be a local open co-op. And the other towns there are all transition towns that we'd be working together with all those other towns. So this is a first level of collaboration. Again, each one is separate, autonomous, independent, but with mutual support and synergy and various other ways of active mutual support. And similarly, the clusters would be working together globally. So again, with mutual support and synergy, but otherwise independently. And this is a pattern. You can see many scales. At each scale there is local independence, but working together. This builds on ideas of the commons, on the ideas of the peer-to-peer stuff we heard from Stacko yesterday. Viable systems in particular, we have some real viable systems experts here at this conference. Sociocracy. At all levels, groups retain control but work together. So, as a vision for what it means to have an overall global collaboration, is this the sort of thing that you've been thinking of as well? Yes, that's what we've been thinking of? Probably not, somewhere in between. Wow, that's fantastic. How that is really, because it's certainly quite different from your traditional socialist visions of all central control. That is really important. Glad we're on that same wavelength. Okay, and the final section. Where do we start? What are these geeks going to be doing? What is Holo going to be doing? What is the Open Co-op going to be doing with our vision? And this is very much a personal thing, but I would really love to see what you all think. It's what I think I would need to really get things going in DIS, in Norfolk. If I had this in my hands and I could say, with this software, we can get started, and then over the next 5 years, we'll build up this multifaceted, collaborative, sustainable community. So it's two main areas: relationship, and that is, we put out a social network which includes trust and reputation. I'll explain in a minute more about that. And exchange, using gifts and favors as well as money. I'll just point out the gifts and favors bit, for me, is really important. For one thing, it means that people need less money to live on. We're getting off the money hook by getting well-established favor system. And it also promotes volunteering, because there'll be a lot of volunteering there, and these volunteers will be high profile. Okay, so we'll start with the trust. I've got, is this, oh, it's not. The trust button is the one up there. What if I want to see how am I connected to Albert A? Okay. The trust button, press that, and what happens? Well, what does it mean to have a trust network? I join in this with people that I trust, and I indicate them as my trusted friends. They join with their trusted friends, and so on. And we soon have a rich network of trust. So nobody's anonymous. You can't troll. You're always connected with people you trust. This solidifies this community. Okay? And that's what happens. And if I press the trust button for Albert, who's down there, it shows me something like this. I'm connected to Albert through Sarah, who I trust. Okay, next. On relationship, it's reputation. But specifically, reputation for serving people and planet, rated separately on every transaction in the thing. If I was to single out one thing that I thought was really vital, it would be that. Because this is what steers the whole thing in that direction. Anybody can have a good reputation, no matter how big or how small your contribution is. It's a great leveler. And this is the thing which can knock money from its pedestal. Going for reputation, not money. Okay, now let's put this together with an exchange system. I'm almost there. So we've got the trust and the reputation in your thing, and as far as I've got actually a conventional currency, a green currency, a local currency, and the hearts is for favors. So favors are not actually balanced. You don't have to do something. You're working with people you trust. And that's about it, really. Just about the end. So these four things: trust, reputation, gifts, favors. Final vote, trust. Who thinks that's really important in initially building service? There's a lot. Okay. Reputation. Whoop. What's gone? What's happening here? No, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway. Reputation. No, some no's, some maybes, a sprinkling of yeses in betweens. So these are interesting. These will be interesting discussions. Exchange using gifts and favors. A mix. There's a lot of agreement here. So these are really things for us to chew on. And finally, exchange using money. I think that's yes, and different kinds of money. Right. Okay. I think that's just about me. Let's say this happens. I think this is going to mean that we are getting a real global pilot for a society that cares for people and planet. I think it's going to be wildly popular. Once there's a framework there so that others can join it, people will see they are really becoming in control of their lives, which is a huge current perverted by many, but really, really important. And just to have an over-the-top end, what would this mean? Well, something like a global brain. Does that make sense? Right. That's it for me. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm now on the other mic. Am I?
We're okay. Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes, so if anybody's got some questions for Gary,
or your own comments, your own reactions. What did I leave out in this social vision?
There's a couple of comments on Slido already. So Mark's asking if Gary's been shown Slido, but I think the idea there was to actually get a sense of so everybody in the room could see what the mood of the room was. So
and faster.
That's good. Somebody's also making a comment about lots of people in a confined space. So perhaps if people with backpacks could take them off, put them away, and other people who are leaving things in doorways could clear them up, that would be great. I would also like to ask everybody, please, to just double check that your phone is on silent because it's quite interrupting when phones go off. Thanks for that. So Does anybody have a specific thing that they would like to ask? Somebody here has said,
Indra?
if social reputation becomes the measure of how good people are, how do you avoid exploitation and public defamation?
Well, that's the purpose of the trust mechanism, the trust network. There aren't anonymous people in this, as I've described, precisely for that reason. So the people you trust are going to see what you're doing if you go defaming people, and why you have all these local people handling conflict. I mean, collaborative cultures don't just happen. You have to learn how to do them. It's quite a skill. There's training involved in that. And I've learned that when we did the early online courses at the Open University. We had to teach our students how to communicate effectively, and we had moderators who were trained to handle this. I'm Indra Hunter.
Yeah, go, Indra, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, that's really, really important. Indra is saying, how do we avoid having this just for the people like us, the usual suspects? And you want to get things across the political divide. You want to get a very wide range of people. And first of all, I think probably at the very beginning, you have to start with people who actually share the values in the pilot. But once you get something out there that people can see that actually works, a society that begins to work and makes sense for people, you'll get lots of people joining it, not because they believe in it, but because they see their friends doing it and because it works. And once they get involved in it, they'll get completely sucked in by the values, because it's the way people behave depends upon what they find themselves expected to do. So if we're building society as a structure in which you're rewarding behavior which is collaborative, in which that's expected, which volunteering favors are rewarded, then, and specifically looking after people and planet is rewarded, then you've got something which sucks in people and sucks in businesses. Because here's a great new market where you're supported by all those around you. And so you create these expectations, and then people join it and get sucked in and handled if they're creating any problems. That's my best sense of it.
I mean, from my point of view, I think that doing things that are offline as well and actually bringing people together in physical space is hopefully a way to encourage others, especially if you can create a space which isn't like this. It's not specifically focused on cooperation. But then if you introduce people to these concepts in that way, and then perhaps lead them towards the benefits of a digital solution, then maybe that will work. There's a burning question here, which has had 5 votes, saying volunteering and gift economy in the near term favors those with the privilege to work for free and exclude those who need to work for money or are already burdened with care responsibilities. How can this future be inclusive?
Yes. I think it does help those who have it now when it's not rewarded. Yes, that is the case. But if it's there in public, and you do something for your community, and other people say, oh yes, that's okay, maybe I'll make you a meal or whatever, And I'll give you things. It will affect those people. The people who are burdened with care will find that they can get a lot of their care done as a favor by other people in similar positions. They'll find they can save money, they can save time. I think it'll be particularly those people who most benefit by the gift economy side. And the money side is money from those who have it circulating in the community. Even if you don't have a local currency, if you have a network of like-minded people, those who have pensions or jobs or whatever, putting the money in, and it circulates among those who don't, the money that you do have goes very much further in the community. Oh, and the other point that Indra made and that you just mentioned, face-to-face versus online. Yes, totally. That's why I had this. The fun squad was the crucial thing. You have to have face-to-face events. You can't join this thing unless you are trusted by people. And how do you get trusted? You go to an event. You meet people. Meeting people face-to-face is the core of community. Online is only infrastructure. It's the difference between the roads and the cars and the traffic.
There's a few people mentioning the Black Mirror show, Nosedive. I don't know if you saw that, Gary. So it's a brilliant show. I mean, it really is, because it demonstrates the problems with making reputation not only ubiquitous, but an essential part of your one's life, right? So everybody is rated for everything. Every single interaction everybody has with anybody else, somebody gives them a rating. So even when you just walk up to a counter and buy a pack of chewing gum or something, you get rated for how meaningful was that transaction. And this poor young lady who's not having the best time in the world, her reputation takes a nosedive, and suddenly she realizes she can't do a lot of the things that she wanted to do in her life. So I guess the question there is, how do you avoid the negative sides of reputation?
That's tricky. I mean, Rob Hopkins talks about how this is a great social experiment we're all learning as we go along. And I think that's really a crucial thing. We're going to have to figure this out. But reputation systems without a backup system for handling conflicts and poor reputation is probably a mistake. Reputation plus conflict resolution is necessary, and a lot of really careful care in handling difficulties in this. But I've heard terrible stories about what China is doing in reputation as well. Yes, I mean, reputation is hugely powerful, but not trivial. And it often is trivialized with eBay or whatever.
There's somebody saying here, reputation is not the goal. It is treated merely as a means to an end.
Yeah.
The end being accountability.
Yeah, okay.
We don't have much more time, so we'll just take one more question. That seems to be more of a statement. So,
there's someone in the back there?
Does someone have a question you saw? There's lots of questions here, although a lot of them are actually statements more than questions.
Can you show them? Can you show them?
Yes.
I was thinking if we went back 30 or 35 years to when people were developing the internet, weren't they talking about the same values, about working together, well-being people on the planet, and mutual support based on autonomy, and look where we are now with the internet. So how do we stop these ideas being appropriated by profit and power?
Actually, that actually reminds me, I missed out at the very end, one of the things a crucial thing I was going to say. The World Wide Web was started in 1992. I was already middle-aged by that point. And it very rapidly spread and is totally mainstream and way beyond that now. I think we are putting in place protocols which will keep it convergent. All of the viable system stuff will keep it self-correcting. But I think that by the time the younger ones of you are middle-aged, this will be ubiquitous. This vision is going to take over in the lifetimes of probably all but the very old here like me. So think of that. You're going to see this. You're going to see this happening.